Nice internet people! My name is Sarah and today I just wanted to do a quick video about how to use one of these mechanical tufters slash handheld mechanical punch needle thingies. So before I start, I just want to say huge thank you to I Am a Maker, which is a nonprofit that's based out of Colorado. They are running a micro grant called the Rob Hendershot Micro Grant, which is partially funding this work, and also big thanks to Karen Corliss, who is organizing all of it. So check them out, especially if you're in Colorado. They're definitely going to be running these grants again for makers. First, I was interested in using a tufting gun, but for the project I'm doing, a tufting gun is sort of a bit of overkill and they're really expensive. And then I discovered this guy online. I bought it on eBay for like maybe $10, but once I got it, there weren't any resources about how to use it. So I was kind of lost trying to figure it out myself, and I thought it would be really helpful to other people to let you know what I have figured out. So there are a bunch of different kinds of rug making tools. There's an awesome poster infographic that someone named Lindsay Grutzmacher, I'm probably getting that very wrong, made, and I'll post an image of it here, but it shows the many different kinds of punch needles and tufting devices. I think a lot of them work similarly. This is the one that I have. Here is the box from it. It's a Phentex and it's adjustable, which means that your pile, the size of the loops on the rug, you can adjust. So I just want to give a quick disclaimer that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Everything that I'm saying here, I sort of figured out by trial and error, and I would be absolutely delighted to hear from people in the comments with all the things I'm doing wrong, and I still have a bunch of questions, so I'll mention those throughout, and if people know the answers, I would love to hear that as well. I'm gonna start by just going over what you need to get started with all of this. So, of course, first you're gonna need your tool. Might look something like that, might look a little different. The next thing you're gonna want, and some of the tools will come with this and some won't, is a needle threader. So mine did not come with a needle threader. I just made one out of wire, and there's a couple YouTube videos about how to do this that I'll link. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just need some wire and some needle nose pliers. I used this 16 gauge brass wire. I wouldn't recommend it. I would go a little smaller, but I just happen to have this lying around. Then you're also going to need your rug backing, so a material that you'll be tufting into. You're going to need a frame for that material to go on, and then you're also going to need a stand. There are tons of videos about how to set these up and make them for both punch needle and also for tufting guns, and it's very similar, so I'll point you to some videos on how to do that. And then optionally, you will want some form of oil or lubricant for your tool, especially because these are a lot of them are from the 60s, the 70s, they're really old, they need to be cleaned and lubricated. This is what I used. I'm not sure if this is the best thing to use, but it's just what I got. I considered using bike chain oil, but decided to go with that instead. And then you will also want, if you want to adjust the size of your pile and you have an adjustable tool, you're going to need some sort of screwdriver. This one has a Phillips head there, so I have this just standard, or sorry, not a Phillips head. This one has a flat head, and I have a flathead screwdriver, so. All right, so I'm going to start by jumping right into the tufting process, and then at the end I'll show you how I lubricated my tool and also how to adjust that pile length. So I would like to very briefly show you my setup because I think it's quite clever and I'm so pleased with myself. It's not really that clever, but most people build frames with a stand to put their frame on, but what I have done is just used a normal picture frame, and then I have used clamps to clamp it onto, anything that works. And so what I have here is just a folding table that's upside down, and my frame fits pretty perfectly, and I've clamped it right on there. You do have to weigh down the other side of the table, which I will do with just large containers of water. And then the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your yarn and thread your punch needle, so I just take this little tool, I put the yarn through the hook, and then inside of your tool, it doesn't really matter where this is while you're doing it, you just put it through this top little tunnel. I push it all the way through, and then I take it off the threader. I like to have very short tail here at the end when I'm starting, but it doesn't matter. It can be long, and you can trim it off after. You can sort of see where they are on the bottom there. Okay, so now that you have threaded your punch needle, you're ready to start. Also, a side note here, you may have noticed that my design that I'm working on is sort of a television test screen. The design was inspired by work that I found by someone on Instagram. Their handle is Harara Textiles. I'll put a link to their Instagram and their Etsy in the video and also in the description. I'm taking their idea one step further, and I'm going to make large television screen rugs that I'm going to install into an antique TV and then hopefully have it be so that you can switch between stations. So that's my whole project for the I'm a Maker grant, and I'm going to be doing a blog post write-up on where I am on that in the next couple days, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, now you are ready, so you're going to start with your, ooh, very hard, needle all the way in the back position. And then what you're going to do is you're going to push it through the rug. Then while keeping pressure here, you'll push this plunger bit forward and then pull back up. And then it sort of naturally seems to want to go in a line, or move forward, I should say. And you just do that over and over. I will show a video of what it looks like on top so that you can sort of see what's happening. I haven't totally figured out how you can change the spacing between the piles. My intuition sort of tells me that it has to do with the angle at which you're holding this, but I'm not really sure. Like I feel like if you are holding it more at an angle like that, the jump between will be bigger. You can also sort of just move it. You'll also notice I haven't really figured out how to do perfectly straight lines. So then when you want to go, you can turn around just like a normal punch needle or a tufting gun. It's best to do that. I actually don't know at which stage it's best to do that. I think I tend to do it when the plunger part is fully depressed. That's when I make my turns and then go into a new part. So then once you're done with whichever section you're doing, you can just slide that off and then cut with scissors. It's also just as easy to pull it back out if you make a mistake. You can also thread multiple pieces of yarn at the same time. I have heard people say that that will give you sort of a more even pile. I haven't really been experimenting with that. One thing that I'm not really sure about is the spacing between the lines on the back. So you can see in this one that I've left sort of almost one row's width of space between each of them. In my first attempt, I did them really close together, like so much so that you can't even really see. And I feel like this maybe is a little too dense. I haven't totally figured out yet how to space or know how to space. I would be curious to see what other people do. I feel like it should be sort of like knitting when you have a recommended size needle, a recommended size gauge, and you do a test swatch. But yeah, I'm just not sure yet. So you can also see in this example version that I didn't get very even sized loops. And I think the key to that is a couple things. First, making sure there's not tension in your yarn. So you sort of have to unwind it as you're going. And second, making sure that when you're punching, you go all the way in, hold the pressure, go all the way back in, come all the way out, hear that click, and yeah, just make sure everything goes to the fullest extension. I'm gonna try to take a video now from behind so you can see what's happening, because I think it helps. So you push the needle through. Let's see if we can get it to. You push the needle through, then you're pushing the plunger bit through. That holds the thread out. The needle moves forward, comes through, plunger goes back, and your loop is made. So let's do it one more time. All right, so in order to adjust your pile length, it's pretty self-explanatory, but there is a screw right here underneath the hand grippy section. And so what you're gonna wanna do is get your flathead screwdriver. You will unscrew that screw, so just take it all the way out. And then once it's out, this section will move freely. And so you can realign that with any of these holes. And then just put the screw back in, and that will adjust the length of the loops on your rug. Mine has a plus on one side and a minus on the other side. So the plus means that the loops will be larger, and the minus means that the loops will be smaller. So I have mine set at the largest size right now, and I'm just gonna put it back. And then you just wanna screw it all the way back in normally. I do it pretty tight. But if you do it too tight, it will get stuck, so there's a fine, sort of a fine line there. There you go. So I've just readjusted it back to what it was. All right, and then, so a lot of these machines are from the 60s or the 70s, so it is likely that once you get them, they will need to be cleaned a little bit and lubricated. So I'm not totally sure what the best way to do this is, but this is what I have done, and I would be interested to hear what other people have done. So what I did was I just used this household lubricant, this household oil, they call it on here, and I just treated it very similar to what I would do with a bike chain. So I put it on all of the sections that move against each other. So this part here, all the way down on both sides, and then on the back as well. And on that bottom part, the same. And then I just did the same thing I do with a bike chain, which is put on a little bit too much, run it a couple times, and then clean off the excess. And you'll start to hear when it needs more, like mine probably needs a little bit more right now. It sort of makes a terrible sound. All right, that's all I've got. So thanks so much for watching this video. Huge thanks to I Am a Maker. And if you have comments, suggestions, feedback, would love to hear it. Would love some answers to some of those questions. I hope this helps everyone. Thanks, bye.